Hi everyone, my name is Teresa
I'm Nick.
and we are sailing around the world on our yacht Ruby Rose.
So this is our third year of sailing. We left from London. We did the Atlantic coast of Europe, so Spain, Portugal, Morocco. We crossed the Atlantic and we spent last year cruising the Windward Islands. This year we've gone from Antigua and we're heading towards the USA. This is a different video from the ones we normally put out. Normally we show you what we're doing on a week by week basis. We do some live chats, but this week we're going to discuss a topic that we get asked a lot of questions about on our website, and the topic is how much it costs. So we're going to break this down into different topics, where the money comes from, where the money goes to, and hopefully answer the questions that will allow you to hopefully make some decisions yourselves if this is what you hope to do. So I'm going to break it down into a couple of things. How we get our money, what it actually costs us on a monthly basis and how that's broken down, and the pitfalls of the people that we know have found with budgeting. So I'm going to start that backwards actually. I'm going to start with pitfalls. The first thing, the biggest pitfall is we find a lot of people that are really unhappy because they bought boats that they couldn't afford to run or keep. And it is very true that the more expensive your boat and the bigger your boat, the more expensive repairs are. And it's not just the repairs, it's taking it into a marina to get the repairs done. And whatever you think, no matter how old the boat, it's going to need repairing. We have had this boat since new and it needs repairing. Older boats need more repair, but they all need repairing. So the first thing I would suggest, if you haven't already bought a boat, is buy something you can easily afford to run on a daily basis, and whatever you think you're going to spend on the boat, spend 20% less.
I think that if you arbitrarily say to yourself, okay, I have a budget of $100,000, then I personally would be looking at boats around the maybe 70 to 80,000,
absolutely,
and leave that extra 20% for either putting equipment on, or I mean, the thing is,
slush fund, a good slush
fund. And the thing is that what we didn't realise, and actually we came into this kind of realisation accidentally, but we didn't realise how expensive storage and ongoing maintenance and repairs were going to be. Repairs are less of an issue for us because we have a boat that's less than 5 years old and we've had her since new. So everything that is extra on the boat, Nick installed himself. Occasionally,
and we repair ourselves. We repair everything we can. We've got friends that pay for fridge engineers and for varnishers and for French polishers and for hull polishers. We do it ourselves. Point two, where we get our money from. Now everyone does this in different ways. A lot of people live on savings. Other people work while they are traveling. We have friends that work 6 months off, 6 months on. And we live on the rent from our house. A lot of people do this as retirees, dip into a pot. We were uncomfortable with our age of taking a source of money that was dwindling. So not living on savings, but to each their own. We have friends that have, as I said, Bo and Alison on B&A Sailing, they work 6 months off, 6 months on. Works really well for them.
I mean, other people have jobs that they can work from on their boat, as long as they have internet, and I've met a lot of people who work from home, and I've also seen on kind of internet forums and Facebook groups that I'm a part of, a lot of people working from their boat. The general kind of, first of all, I've not done that before. I've written a couple of articles that I've gotten paid for, but I don't work from home. Neither of us do. But what I have seen other people discuss and comment on is that working from the boat is actually, it can be very, very stressful because internet in the Caribbean is very slow and unreliable and expensive. And also, if you're cruising, it's different if you're just in the one place, but if you're cruising, then you're always kind of chasing internet.
And so the big question is what it actually costs us. So when I talk about the cost of what we do, we wanted a lifestyle where the important things, first we could run the boat, afford the boat, keep the boat. Secondly, we could go home once a year. Like, that was really important for us to be able to go back. And we live, Teresa's parents are in Australia, my parents are in London, so we have to count on big flights a year. So we take...
And storage.
Yeah, a lot of our... Yeah, it costs a lot. So the cost of flights to Australia from the Caribbean are huge. And then if we're gone for 3 months, we've got to store the boat for 3 months, which is almost as expensive as being in a marina. So that's a big chunk of what we do. For us, we are relatively young, fit and healthy, but we have health insurance. We've got full medical repatriation insurance. And really, everything that we budget for is to stop us being stressed out about the what ifs. What if this happens? Oh, we paid for that, we've got insurance. What if that happens? No, we can afford to go home. So those are the things we need. There's obviously boat insurance we have, which is expensive. It works out about, I think, about 2% of the value of the boat while we're here. Then the lifestyle that we have, we eat out occasionally when we want to. We don't either love or want to be in restaurants all the time.
No.
We don't go into marinas that often through choice, because marinas out here are hot and stuffy and expensive. A marina is costing us anything between, I think the cheapest was 30 US a night in Antigua when we were there for months. That was 65 cents a foot, to $2.40 a foot in Turks and Caicos last week, which was $100 a night for us. And then food, we tend to eat locally, as in we buy local produce. I think part of the reason we did this was to get away from kind of abject consumerism, where we were just making money at work to buy things for our house, to then pay the house off, to remove away from it. So it's not this kind of hippie thing, but we have a finite amount of space for buying things.
Yeah.
It's too hot for really wearing clothes, and whatever clothes you get and own will get wrecked because you're living on a boat.
Yeah.
So all the consumerism that we had to move away from.
Yeah.
So for us, this is the magical question, what do we spend, what do we spend? For us, it's about $3,000 US a month. Now that's really, really ballpark. You know, we spent 3 months at anchor, and thus the kind of $100 a day went a long way.
Yeah.
Because, you know, then you could eat out and do other things. When you're spending $100 a day in a marina, it all kind of...
You can't do anything else.
But, you know, I would say that of that $3,000 a month, like 20% of that goes on kind of random things that you're just not going to won't even come into your kind of like field of expenditure. For instance, to clear into the Bahamas, $300, just poof, you know, just that was a clearing in fee, and the fishing permit and all the other stuff that you have to have. So there are fees, hidden costs, which are things like entering and leaving countries. Our internet costs are high because we stream for you. Here is cheap. It's in the Bahamas, I think it's $50 or 45 US dollars for the SIM card and 15 gig of data, which is the best we've ever found. Back in the BVIs, it was $20 for 1 gig. So internet costs for us are high. And the other thing is the boat, we have a separate slush fund for the boat. Because realistically speaking, if we need to repair the boat, we need to repair the boat. It's not an option, you know. So things that we can't do ourselves, we would have to go and find someone to do. So we have a separate slush fund, which I'd like to think is enough to carry out most major repairs, like, you know, even if they were big ones. But that's just for us. It could be a lot less. We've got friends that live on $10 a day, and we have friends that live on a lot more.
Yeah, I think that's an important point, that, you know, our budget works for us. We kind of are lucky enough that is the budget that we're able to work to. You know, we have lots of friends that we've met that are working to a smaller budget, and we also have friends that we've met that are working to a much kind of bigger budget. So one question, which is obviously one of the big ones, is how much does a boat cost? And this really is a question that has absolutely no right answer, because you can go on to any kind of brokerage website. We go on yachtworld.com quite a bit, but there's loads of them, and you can see for yourself how much boats cost. You can spend literally anything. It's kind of one of those how long is a piece of string questions. I would say that based on the boats that I have seen, the people that we've met who've bought boats of different budgets, the minimum that I would advise would probably be around 40,000 American dollars. for
I
a
think
good, well-built offshore cruising
Yeah.
boat.
And that's without taking into account people that have been really lucky or got like the deal of the century or whatever. This is just based on what we have found. Starting with a 40-foot-ish boat of that's around 30 years old. That's what friends, the people that we have met, have kind of bought. So yeah, about 40 to 50,000 US dollars.
And expect to have to pay quite a bit on top of that for maintenance and repairs and equipment.
And then upwards.
Yeah.
Upwards.
Anything upwards of that.
Obviously, if you're going to multi-hulls, catamarans, something we know nothing about, but expect to pay 50% more than that.
At least.
And for a like-sized catamaran over a monohull. And it literally just goes up. We've got friends that have got yachts that are worth millions.
So another issue, I mean, we're obviously sailing around the world. That is our goal. We've sailed from London to here in the Bahamas, and we intend to go much further afield. But that also has massive costs associated with it. So I think that where you plan to go, your potential cruising ground, and that, you know, how close that is to where you are currently, that has a huge impact upon your budget and your costs.
If you are on a budget, whatever that may be, and this is what you're going to do, I would suggest seriously buying a boat that has that pedigree and may have actually sailed around the world.
So it's got all the equipment on
Yeah.
it.
So for instance, self-steering gear, which I think you have to have. You need a really good ocean-going life raft, which is going to cost a couple of $1,000s. Safety equipment, EPIRB, emergency positioning beacon, that's probably $1,000. All the flares, $500. You need the kind of like parachute flares, just safety equipment.
So other things we spent a lot of money on for offshore cruising.
Different sails, our parasailer, our downwind sails, our Code Zero is expensive. We have storm sails, they were expensive.
Hydro generator.
A hydro generator, not necessarily a must, but really useful to have, and digs us out of the problem of having to worry about electricity all the time.
Yep. SSB.
SSB radio, ridiculously expensive. I am still unsure as to how amazing and necessary it is in 2017. We've been told that once you get to the Pacific, it really opens up a whole new avenue of communication. We haven't really used it that much. We have it, but the kit, the modem, the upkeep, obtaining the license in the UK, ridiculously expensive. We bought our gear second hand. I still think it cost us about $7,000 with the installation, the insulating of our backstay, the course and everything else.
I mean, even AIS you don't necessarily need if you just plan to cruise the Caribbean. So
an AIS transponder, I think, is one of those things that everyone should have. I really think it should be mandatory.
I agree, but a lot of boats around here don't.
No, they don't have them.
So.
And then spares upon spares upon spares. We don't have the most extensive spare selection, but at the point at which we end up going to Panama, we will have to have a lot more.
So how much do you think we have spent in total kitting this boat out for offshore cruising and remote cruising, as opposed to kind of coastal hopping and staying local?
Bloody hell, babe. I think there are probably, I would say, $20,000 to $30,000 of kit on this boat, which is specifically levelled at offshore cruising.
I agree.
Self-steer, the hydro generators, we have 2 of them, the SSB radio, the sat phone,
Parasailer,
and the parasailer, all of which are kind of long-term downwind,
like trade wind
cruising kits.
Yeah.
That's what we've put into it. I think the mission statement that I had in my mind was, let's try and make this as stress-free as possible. And we looked at all the things that would stress us out, all the things that would keep me awake at night, all the things that we'd be like, okay, and we just tried to remove them. So it's not about buying the fastest boat or the most beautiful boat or the most expensive boat. It's about buying the vessel and investing in the lifestyle that gives you the least stress. Because the entire idea about this is that you move to a less stressful lifestyle than the one you're possibly in at the moment. And the biggest stress, hence this discussion, is money. I think as my closing statement, we had a vision about what we wanted, and we have been gone for 2 years now. And if you watch our regular videos from this season and read our blogs from last season, this life thus far has been so much more than I even dreamt it would be. It has been awesome. We don't just show you the happy times and the fact that we've always got friends and we're dancing and fishing and drinking and swimming. It is generally a life that I am ridiculously happy with, and I think that if you work to try and remove some of the obstacles before you set off, it's more than achievable.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope you found this kind of information session useful. If you have any further questions, then please comment down below and we'll do our best to answer them. You can always send us a message on Facebook or Instagram, or tweet us, or contact us through our website. There's a load of different ways of doing it, so I'll include all the links down below. And if you like our videos and you like us, then we'd really appreciate if you hit the subscribe button. We always appreciate that. So
yeah, hope you enjoyed this. Different to what we normally do, normal stuff on a Friday.
So if you like what we do, please click subscribe down below and leave a comment. Or leave a comment. So if you like what we do, subscribe. 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 Scrubby sub.
you're having a seizure.
Scrooby Skype.
So if
Hello.
I don't know what else to say.
It's time for my nap.
Sure is.
Alright, we done?
Yeah.